Good morning, my dear students. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about antonyms, types of antonyms. So let's start our lesson. Antonyms in English. The first is semantic contrast and antonymy. Definitions. Second is the definition and the characteristic features of antonyms. The third is the contextual approach to the study of antonyms. Fourth, the classification of antonyms, and the fifth is converses. Semantic contrast and antonymy. Semantic contrast or semantic polarity presupposes the presence of some common semantic component in the denotational meanings of the words hot, cold, the temperature. The semantic relations of this type are called antonymy. Until recently, antonymy wasn't universally accepted as a linguistic problem. The last one, the composition word is within the antonymics pair was regarded as logical with no reflection in the semantic structure of the words. Definition and the characteristic features of antonyms. Antonyms are defined as two words of the same language, belonging to the same part of speech, identical in style, nearly identical in distribution, associated in the usage together because their meanings render contrary or contradictory notions. Antonyms are words different in sound, form characterized by different types of semantic contrast in the denotational meanings, and interchangeable at least in some contexts. Semantic contrast and antonymy. Antonymy is general shares many features typical of synonymy. Together they represent the most expressive means of the language. A polysemantic word may have antonyms for each of its meanings. For example, an adjective, dull, has the following antonyms: an interesting book, a clever student, an active person. Some of the meanings may have no antonyms. Antonyms form only binary oppositions. The distinctive feature of which is semantic polarity. Its basis is so occurrence in typical context combined with approximate sameness of distribution and the stylistic or emotional equivalence. For example, to love, to hate, or lit. The opposition in these examples is obvious. Each component of the pair means the opposite of the other. Such pairs are called antonymic pairs. Antonyms are not evenly distributed among parts of speech. Most antonyms are adjectives because qualitative and the quantitative characteristics are easily compared and contrasted. High, low, wide, narrow, soft, loud. Plural pairs are few in number: to lose, to find, to love, to hate. Nouns are not rich in antonyms either: joy, grief, love, hatred. Antonymics adverbs may be of two types: adverbs derived from adjectives, warmly and coldly, then warmly and coldly, loudly and softly. Adverbs proper now, then, they, here, and there. Said expressions may also form antonymic pairs by accident on purpose. Contextual approach to the study of antonyms. Komissarov has done much in the study of antonyms. He worked out the contextual approach to the problem. According to it, two words are considered antonyms if they are regularly contrasted in actual speech. If the contrast in their meanings is proved by the definite type of the contextual occurrence. Absolute antonyms are words that are regularly contrasted as homogeneous sentences, members connected by capillative, disjunctive, or adversative conjunctions, or identically used in parallel constructions. In certain typical configurations, which are called typical contexts. So, contextual approach to the study of antonyms. Typical context. Typical context A and B is all. She watches all the TV programs dull and interesting. Typical context. Not A but B. He is not active but dull. Typical context A or B. You will see if you are right or wrong. Typical context. And the book is interesting but the film is dull. Another important criterion suggested by the Commissar is the possibility of substitution and identical lexical valency. The possibility of identical contexts is seen in the antithesis, where most of all I lost there, most of all I won. Antonymy of two words may be restricted by their valency, their power to combine with different words: a tall building, a low building, a tall man, a short man, an old house, a new house, an old man, a young man. Unlike synonyms, antonyms don't differ in style, emotional coloring, and distribution. They are interchangeable, at least in some contexts. In a context where one member of the pair is used, it's all as a rule interchangeable with another member: a wet towel, a dry towel. The number of antonymic opposition may be marked and unmarked. The unmarked members is widely used and can include a reference of the marked member, but no vice versa. This proves that their meanings have some components in common. In the pair old, young, the unmarked member is old. Classification of antonyms. Traditional antonyms are classified into absolute, A and B. Derivational. Absolute, the words absolute words of different roots: large, small, right, wrong. Derivational, and words of the same root but having negative affixes: pleasant, unpleasant, useful, useless. Many lists kept to this classification. Others study absolute antonyms in more details and a number of subclasses of them. Ginsburg follows Webster in the classification. A is the contradictories and the contraries. Contradictory words that represent the type of semantic relations that exist in pairs like single and married. To use the one word of the pair is to contradict another. To use not before one of them is to make them seem semantically equal. Not single, married. Single, not married. Contraries words that admit the possibility of some intermediate members, called hot. The intermediate members will be called cool and warm. So, incompatibles. Incompatibles words with the common component of meaning. It is a relation of exclusion as the reverse of hyponymy. Morning, not evening, not night, not afternoon. The negation of one member excludes the possibility of other words of this set. This relation may be observed between color terms: red, not black, blue, yellow, and brown. Arnold's classification. Antonyms proper words the semantic polarity in which is relative. The opposition is gradual. It may embrace several elements characterized by different degrees of the same property. They always imply comparison. The comparison is clear from the context. Large, small are polar degrees of the same notion. Size. Complementary words that form a binary opposition. It may have only two members. The denial of one member of the opposition implies the assertion of the other, not male and female. Conversives. Apart from antonyms, there are the so-called conversives, which are often mixed with antonyms. Conversives denote one and the same referent as viewed from different points of view, that of the subject and that of the object. For example, buy, sell, give, receive, cause, suffer. The interchangeable and contextual behavior are specific. Antonyms may be defined as two or more words of the same language belonging to the same part of speech and to the same semantic field, identical in style and nearly identical in distribution, associated and often used together so that their denotative meanings render contradictory or contrary notions. Absolute and derivational. My only love sprang from my only hate. Too early seen unknown and known too late. A short story, a long story, a short man, a tall man. So let's continue. Antonyms may be defined as two or more words of the same language different in sound form, belonging to the same part of speech and to the same semantic field. Identical in style and nearly identical in distribution, associated and often used together so that their denotative meanings render contradictory or contrary notions. Day and the night, for example. Antonyms form mostly pairs, not groups like synonyms. Stupid, smart. Worst, best. Bottom, top. Down, up, for example. This classification of antonyms. It is more or less universally recognized that among the cases that are traditionally described as antonyms, there are at least the following groups: antonyms proper, complementary antonyms, and the conversives, relation opposites. Another classification of antonyms is based on a morphological approach: root antonyms and the derivational antonyms. So, antonyms proper. Antonyms proper shows the polar degrees of the same concept fields, contradictories and the contraries. For example, contradictions without degrees, and the contradictions that have an intermediate meaning: cold, hot, bachelor and married. So, complementary antonyms, incompatible semantic relations of incantability exist among the antonyms with a common component of meaning, and they may be described as the reverse of hypernymy, as the relations of exclusion but not of contradiction: woman, man, dog, and the cat, for example. Conversive relation opposites. Conversive relation opposites denote one and the same referent or situation as viewed from different points of view, with the reversal of the order of all participants and their roles: to sell, продавать, to buy, purchase, to purchase, покупать, left and the right. For example, root antonyms, right and wrong. The root of the word is involved in contrast: small, big. Derivational antonyms, happy, unhappy, for example, are created by the presence of negative affixes. The affixes in them serve to deny the quality stated in the stem. Exercise 1. Choose antonyms for the following adjectives: open, open, heavy, dry, cold. So exercise 2. Determine the types of antonyms: parent, child, give, receive, big, small, perfect, imperfect, man, woman, old, young, single, married. Exercise 3. So come up with a pair of antonyms and define the type. And first, the words the right, generous, cold, shy,